Last talk entitled Language of the Body and Marital Chastity. So if we go back to our structure, what I'm going to do is I'm going to combine panels 5 and 6 for this last talk. So again, if you want to join me in June, we will go through each of these panels much slower, and we will actually look much more at the text of Theology of the Body, which is why we need 2 days. Because we're just kind of creating the framework, but we're going to go much deeper into each panel, June 5th and 6th. Okay, so here we go. Tell me, please, how did Jesus Christ relate to us when he was here on earth? Did he relate to us through words, or did he relate to us through deeds and actions? Yes, by now you've figured out I love asking both and questions, right? He both spoke the word, but he didn't just speak the word. Right? He also used his body. He healed. He made mud. He ate dinner. He allowed his feet to be washed. He washed other people's feet. So he related to us through both words and deeds. The church has a fancy phrase for this. Oh dear. Okay. And in order to understand what that fancy phrase is, so this is not from Theology of the Body, this is just my own addition. It means it's time to play hangman in order to figure out this fancy phrase. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Okay, here we go. We'll see who wins, you or me, for hangman. By the way, when I want to introduce kind of how many letters did I say? 1, 2, 3, 4. This isn't going to work.
6 and 8.
Yeah, 6 and 8. Thank you so much. I love having teachers who can help me out. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then 8, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I used to teach Theology of the Body to 11 and 12-year-olds. And when I wanted to introduce, a little bit more complicated word, I would often play hangman with them. They love it. Okay? You got to make the faith fun. Okay, give me a letter.
A.
A. Okay. If I can spell, that would be a really good thing. Okay, there is an A. Congratulations. What else?
T.
A T. No T. I'm so sorry. Okay. O. There is an O.
E.
I'm sorry, what?
E.
E. Okay, 2 E's. You're cheating. You're only saying vowels. Okay, what else?
V.
I'm sorry?
V.
V as in Victor?
Yes.
No V. Oh, yes, there is a V. Shoot.
Come on.
Uh-huh.
Don't talk to us about cheating. I see it.
Give me another letter.
D.
A D. Oh, gosh.
And an N.
And an N. Imagine that. Okay, so you got one word.
There's no N or I's in the other one? G.
There are not.
P. Reaction.
That's it. Gosh, I only got one. Okay. Divine pedagogy. Who here has heard that phrase? Okay, so a few of you. Most people have never heard of that phrase. There it is. Divine pedagogy. What does it mean? It means, from Catechism 53, number 3, the divine plan of revelation is realized simultaneously by deeds and words. This is the divine pedagogy. God relates to us through deeds and words, which are intrinsically bound up with each other and shed light on each other. It involves a specific divine pedagogy. God communicates himself to man gradually. So did God reveal everything to Adam and Eve? No. You see, history is the gradual revelation of God's Trinitarian mystery, of his Trinitarian life. And he reveals that how? Through words and deeds. Through both. This is the divine pedagogy. Word and deeds. That means we're created to communicate Through words and deeds. If we're made in God's image and likeness, through words and actions. Okay, so tell me, what might she be saying? Just, oh wow, what? Oh my gosh, what else? Come on, be creative.
Are you kidding?
Are you kidding me? I can't believe this. What else?
How dare you?
How dare you, right? Okay, come on, you guys gotta have, okay, maybe, right, I love that photo. I mean, like, wouldn't it be fun in your youth group, right? You put this photo up and have them go to town. I'm making, the captions for it, right? It's incomplete with just the image, isn't it? You need the words. But if you just had the words, it wouldn't yet really be complete. Like words and deeds, words and images. As I thought about it, I think there are 3 levels of communication for us as human persons. Here's the first one. That's it. So the first level.
What I'm wearing, I just. I'm happy.
She's wearing happy. Is you only read it. That's the first level. Here's the second level. Happy. So what happened here is you can read it and hear it. But there's still another level. What's the other level? Happy! Right? Because you can read it, hear it, and see it, experience it, feel it. I think, again, how can we kind of ramp up our catechesis? It's by realizing, okay, there are 3 levels. The first level is fine at times. We just read it. But have you ever noticed how much more powerful, right? We proclaim the Word of God, don't we? And a lot of times we're reading along. We read it and we hear it. But then have you ever seen Jesus of Nazareth? Or any of the Passion of the Christ? Whoa. You are reading it, you are hearing it, and you are seeing it. This is the divine pedagogy. Words and deeds. So which one of these 3 levels is going to stick the best? The third one. Because it's the way we're created as embodied human persons. And it's the divine pedagogy. Word and deeds. Because words and deeds is the fullness of embodied communication. Again, this is why we have to just be cautious about the extent of our electronic communication. Because it's the embodied presence, which is what we're created to experience. Imagine if instead of the Word becoming flesh, right? God just said, oh, I'm just going to send a movie down to earth to tell them about myself. Let's make a video series. That'll be adequate. Can't be, can it? Here's the way I would describe what we're facing. The future of society and culture hangs precisely on how we and our teens live the language of the body. It's kind of an unusual way to put it, isn't it? The future of society and culture depends on how we choose to live the language of the body, how we're formed to live the language of the body. In other words, are we going to love one another as persons made in the image and likeness of a Trinitarian God, or are we going to consume one another, treat each other as consumeristic objects? What we saw way back from panel 2. Have you ever been to one of those fun houses, or sometimes they have them in various places, of those mirrors where you look at yourself and it gives you kind of a distorted image of yourself? Right, so there are various ways that it kind of makes you look really funky, sometimes fatter, sometimes skinnier, sometimes wavy, sometimes short. I think in our culture we have a distorted view of chastity and therefore the language of the body. For many people, chastity is, I hold it in, I hold it in, I hold it in, and then I get married, and I let it all go. Isn't that unfortunate? That's what many people think. That's not chastity. What is that? It's repression. And unfortunately, that leads to unchaste behavior before marriage, in marriage, and after marriage. So chastity is not the same as repression. Sorry, chastity is also not the same as celibacy. In my experience, many people think chastity is celibacy. But celibacy means permanently abstaining from marriage and all expressions of sexual intimacy. So if you're thinking chastity is the same as celibacy, when you get married, what happens to chastity? Woo, out the window it goes. So who's called to celibacy up here in this photo? The priest, right? The nun? Right? The single man might make. Who's not called to celibacy? Right, the married person. Married persons, that's not their vocation. Their vocation is not celibacy. Who's called to chastity? Everyone, which is why we've really got to make this distinction in our young people's mind. Celibacy is the vow to permanently refrain from all expressions of sexual intimacy and marriage. But who's called to chastity? Everyone, because chastity is a virtue, and that means we never outgrow it. So tell me, did you wake up one day and say, whoopee, finally I'm old enough to lie and cheat? Whoopee, finally I'm old enough, I can be mean to my little brother. Did you wake up one morning and say, whoopee, finally I'm old enough to be unchaste? No. As you grow older, should you become more chaste or less chaste? More chaste. Ask this question to your teens. What do you think their answer would be? What would your fifth graders say?
What is chaste mean?
Exactly. Very good. Again, most people think, okay, chastity, that's something, that I leave behind. So have you ever thought of every morning waking up and praying, oh Lord, make me more chaste. Oh Lord, help me grow in chastity this day. Because if it's a virtue like love, joy, patience, peace, kindness, generosity, faithfulness, self-control, then we should be growing in chastity every single day of our lives. And that means we need to know what is chastity. Okay, so I want to share with you, I have a number of definitions of chastity, but here's the one that I use with teenagers. How I act in my body to reflect God's love through my sexuality. How I act in my body to reflect God's love through my sexuality. So now we're going to see how fast you guys could write. Who can give me my definition of chastity without looking at their piece of paper? Because I happen to have a $1 bill here, so I want all of you looking up here, please. No fair looking at your papers. I know you guys are trying to do this. Okay? But please, do not be beyond bribing your kids and your teens for certain things. Who can tell me, what's my definition of chastity? It starts with how.
How I act in my body to reflect God's love for my sexuality.
You're very close. Through my sexuality. Excellent, excellent. Round of applause for AJ. He's going to need that with his fifth graders. I happen to have another $1 bill here. Can someone else tell me my definition of chastity that starts with how? How? Anyone else? Want to try? Yes, Cindy.
How I act in my body that reflects God's love through my sexuality.
Very good. So again, I think it would be great, take this definition of chastity, have them make a cheer. Put something together, create a skit, create a song. Right? Take these things and, creatively integrate it into them. One of the things I used to love to do when I taught 6th and 7th grade is when we were working on making a gift of self, I would have them do a skit about how to not make a gift of self. And then we would rewind it, and then they'd have to do the same skit of how to make a gift of self. So don't underestimate how helpful acting things out can be. Okay, so chastity, how I act in my body to reflect God's love through my sexuality. So notice that chastity is the particular virtue that reflects God's and God's love through our sexuality. That's what this virtue is directed toward. My sexuality as male or female reflecting God's love. So let's go back to John Paul II and language of the body. He says the body speaks on behalf of the person, a person who's made in the image and likeness of a Trinitarian God. That's what we've been seeing. But now we're going to look at how the body speaks. Okay, tell me, what are these bodies speaking? What's that body speaking?
What the heck am I going to do?
What am I going to do? What else is that body speaking?
I don't understand.
I don't understand. Okay. What about these bodies? What's the woman's body speaking?
Get away.
Okay, get away. What else?
Accusing.
Right, very accusatory. What else?
You're in trouble.
Okay, you are so in trouble, right? What's the man's body speaking?
I didn't do it.
I didn't do it. I'm innocent. Frustration, right? They're not saying any words. How do you know that? Exactly. How about this body? Have you ever seen this? How about at Mass? Have you ever seen this? I am so totally bored, right? What are these body languages speaking? Okay, please do not imitate this one. Okay, right? Oh my gosh, I can't believe she's going on and on and on. Are we done yet? Right? Isn't it fascinating how our body speaks a language? Why is this important? What's our current culture speaking about marriage?
That's not cool.
Anything goes? It's not cool. Isn't this it's optional? Isn't it interesting? It's all over the spectrum. Have you noticed that? Everything from it's optional to any two people should be able to get married. It's fascinating. Marriage is about love, not gender. It's what I found on the internet when I searched. I think it's a fascinating way of describing what our culture is speaking about marriage. So this means for us there are tough times ahead, aren't there? Because we've lost a cultural agreement as to what marriage is, as to what male and female are. And so that means that we're facing some situations we've never had to face before. And we're having to, did you ever imagine we'd have to defend the fact that we are male and female? Oh my goodness. We've never had to do such a thing before, as far as I know, in the history of civilization. So I don't know if you remember my third goal for today was to create a theology of the body framework in which to address the pressing issues of our teens that our teens face regarding human sexuality and marriage. So now that we've done everything up to this point, now we can look at that, which is why John Paul II puts the section on Humanae Vitae and marital chastity at the end. So he can bring to bear everything he's talked about. So our cultural assumption, and this is really important, you got to name it and explain it, is that marriage is a contract. And if something is a contract, then that means it can be entered into by any two parties. Right? You make a contract, I don't know, with someone to mow your lawn. Does it matter who that person is? No, you just need two people who agree on it. So our culture now has put marriage under the category of contract. A contract is an exchange of property or services. It says, this is mine and this is yours. Or it says, I do this for you and you do this for me. That's what a contract, bless you, that's what a contract is. Can a contract be broken?
Yes.
Absolutely. We break contracts all the time, and in doing so, we are keeping hundreds of thousands of lawyers in business. And we will continue to do so, particularly as we emphasize and pass laws based on marriage only as a contract. Because people want to get out of that contract, and who do they need to get out of that contract? Lawyers. Our Catholic faith, our core Catholic belief is that marriage is not only a contract, but even more so, it's a covenant. And a covenant is a permanent exchange of persons. Notice that language, please. It's not just a permanent exchange of I do this for you and you do this for me. What is it? A permanent exchange of persons. And a covenant can't be broken. God made a covenant with his people in the Old Testament. And he says over and over again, even if you are unfaithful, I will be faithful. Jesus makes a new covenant with us. This is my body. This is my blood. This is the blood of the new covenant. Bridegroom. Permanent exchange of persons. That means it is indissoluble. Indissoluble is not a word we use very much anymore, and therefore I think it needs to be recovered. I have a metal ball here. If I drop it in this glass of water, what happens to the metal ball? Nothing. If I leave the metal ball in here for 5 years, what will happen to it? Nothing. If I leave it in here for 30 years, what will happen to it? Nothing. Why? Because the metal ball is indissoluble. This is what we mean when we say marriage is indissoluble. It can't dissolve. It can't come apart. Another word, it's irrevocable. It can't be taken back. Okay, this is super challenging in a technological culture where it seems as if everything is revocable. Have you noticed that? Right? You can fix or change anything you want. You can get rid of it or you can get a new one if you don't like it. This is part of what is making our job so difficult, is recovering this sense of something being irrevocable. When anything I do, change it, fix it, get rid of it, get a new one. And so we take this attitude over to marriage. So I already told you my favorite place is Sedona. I love this picture for a number of reasons, but one is because of its beauty. And so what I want to do is to go back to Catholic Church teaching on marital chastity to see the stunning beauty of marital love. I hope that when you think of marriage, there can be some beautiful image in your mind to remind us God's plan for marriage is stunningly beautiful. So let's look at the powerful way the body speaks on behalf of the person in the marital covenant. Because this is what John Paul II is doing, is he's helping us see the profound language of the body. So before a couple enters into marriage, before Sammy and Alex say their wedding vows, they're going to be asked 3 questions before they enter into this covenant, which is a permanent and irrevocable exchange of persons. Because the church wants to make sure, okay, do you really understand what you're committing yourself to? What's the first question? Have you come here? Freely, right? And without reservation to give yourselves to each other in marriage. In other words, do you promise to give yourself to each other freely? The second question, will you love each other as husband and wife? All the days of your life. In other words, do you commit yourselves to giving yourself to each other faithfully, irrevocably, indissolubly, all the days of your life? And third, will you accept children lovingly from God and raise them up according to the church and the faith? In other words, do you promise to give yourself to each other how? Fruitfully. So at the altar, with their words, they say, I give myself to you freely, faithfully, fruitfully. I give myself to you how? Totally. That's the words. But what's the divine pedagogy? Words and deeds. And so that night, what was said with words at the altar is expressed through the language of the body. It's expressed through actions, through deeds. With the body, they say to each other, I give myself to you how? Freely, faithfully, fruitfully. I give myself to you how? Totally. Can you see the divine pedagogy? Because this is the way embodied human nature is designed to communicate and give itself. However, John Paul II points out something that I had never encountered before I began reading Theology of the Body, which is that we can lie not only with our words, but how else can we lie? We can lie with our bodies. Have you ever thought about that? that you can lie with your body. You can tell the truth or a falsehood with your body. So have you ever had someone lie to you with their words? Has that ever happened to you? How did you feel? Betrayed. Yeah, betrayed, angry, upset, annoyed, wanting to take revenge, right? Have you ever had someone lie to you with the language of their body? Sure you have. When you've said to your teenage son, what's wrong? And he says, nothing. He's lying with his body, isn't he? Right? How did it make you feel if someone lies to you with their body? It's profound, isn't it? This ability to lie not only with our words, but with our bodies as well. So is it possible to speak a lie with the body in the marital embrace and the act of conjugal union? Absolutely. How? When you don't give yourself to each other freely, faithfully, fruitfully? When you don't give yourself to each other, how? Totally. This is tragic. I find that this really grabs teens and especially young adults' attention. This idea of being inauthentic with the body. But also we have to grasp again, what makes marriage marriage? And the short answer is union. But a union that is given freely, faithfully, fruitfully, a union in the body that's given totally. We can also speak a lie with the body by not receiving the other totally. We often think about that fact of not giving myself totally, but have you ever thought about the fact that you can refuse to receive the other totally? So the classic example of this is what? Contraception, isn't it? Because you not only hold something back, if I'm intentionally contracepting, destroying the fruitful aspect, the procreative aspect, then I'm no longer giving myself fruitfully and I'm no longer giving myself totally. But here's what we often don't think about. We deprive the other person from what? From receiving you totally. So it's a deprivation on both sides. And it's a lie with the body because marriage says, with my words and with my body, I give myself to you totally. So theology of the body means? Yeah, the body reveals God. Here's the kicker, even in the marital embrace. Remember, the physical and the material are meant to go together. Theology and biology are meant to go together. Spirituality and sexuality are meant to go together. So the body is meant to reveal God even in the bedroom. Okay, so we have to remind ourselves, who's God? The Father pours himself out in a total gift of love to the Son. The Son receives that total gift and responds by pouring himself out in a total gift of love to the Father. And the Holy Spirit bursts forth. The Holy Spirit overflows as the fruit of their total self-giving love. If that's whose image and likeness you're made in, and spirituality and sexuality are connected, then what does that mean for the bedroom? It means that the marital embrace is a profound image of Trinitarian love. Of a total giving and receiving of husband and wife that has the potential to do what? Right? If I still had water in here, right? To overflow. God's design is stunningly beautiful. Who can tell me what's chastity? Oh, I have $1 left. Starts with how? You already said it.
How I express in my...
How I act in my body to reflect God's love through my sexuality. Great, if you can say it to me afterwards, I'll give you the $1 bill. Right? how I act in my body to reflect God's love through my sexuality. Do we really want to say that applies everywhere but in the bedroom? My goodness, it's one of the most profound places that it applies. Trinitarian love, we can say in a shorthand way, is both unitive and fruitful. Right? God is one. God, it's unitive, it unites, but it also overflows, right? The Holy Spirit is the fruit of the love between the Father and the Son. So what does that mean about Trinitarian love? That its stunning beauty is that it unites, and in uniting, it gives life. This is why Christ needs a glorified body to do what? To unite you to his body. Unless you eat my flesh and drink my blood, you have no life in you. See, this is Trinitarian love and life. Trinitarian love unites and gives life. This is also the stunning beauty of marital love, is that it is designed by God to unite and to give life. That means marital love is designed by God to be both unitive and fruitful, to unite and give life. So I'd like to just share this phrase with you, the inseparability principle. It's a technical phrase that is in theology, the inseparability principle, and it comes from Humanae Vitae, number 12. You may have heard this before. If not, I just wanted to share it with you so you could see it. Again, in print and hear it. Here's what Humanae Vitae number 12 says. That teaching often set forth by the magisterium, meaning the official teaching office of the church, is founded upon, there's that word, the inseparable connection. So this is the inseparability principle. There's an inseparable connection between what? The inseparable connection willed by God and unable to be broken by man on his own initiative between the two meanings of the conjugal act, the unitive meaning and the procreative meaning. So the inseparability principle is that man on his own accord may not separate what God has joined. The unitive and the procreative meaning of marital love. Okay, so all this, if this is just kind of like a little bit, whoa, right? Okay, up in abstract theology land, let's make it a little more concrete. Here we go. So I borrowed this from my friend Donna Franco, who teaches theology of the body in Buffalo, New York. She was teaching her teenagers and was looking for a visual aid to try to help this. Okay, so I have salad tongs here. And my salad tongs are one reality, two dimensions. What's the one reality? The salad tongs. What are the two dimensions? I have a fork and a spoon, right? As long as I just have a fork and a spoon, all I have is a fork and a spoon. But what happens if I unite them? What do you know? I get this wonderful new reality of salad tongs. How does this relate to embodied married love? Embodied married love is also one reality in two dimensions. What's the one reality of embodied married love? It's a trick question. It's simply conjugal love, married love. That's the one reality. But what are the two dimensions? Unitive and procreative. So if this for a moment represents conjugal love, married love, the unitive and the procreative united in the one reality, what happens if I separate them? I no longer have married love. This is the point of the church's teaching of the inseparability principle. In order to have salad tongs, I have to have the fork and the spoon united together. In order to have married love, I have to have the unitive and the fruitful united together, at least the potential for the fruitfulness united together. If I don't have it, I no longer have married love. This is a very hard teaching of our church, isn't it? The one that most people disagree with. It's the one that your question is based on. But we have to clearly understand, unless I have the two dimensions united, I no longer have married love. It would be like me saying, if I have just a body, do I have a human person? If I have just a spirit, do I have a human person? When do I have a human person? Only when the two dimensions unite in the one reality of a human person. It's the same thing. Is that when the two dimensions of unitive and procreative unite, I have conjugal love. Simply put, a friend of mine said it this way: what God has joined, man must not divide. It's a nice way of putting it, isn't it? What has God joined? The unitive and the procreative. The inseparability principle. We must not divide. Okay, let's see. Where are we going here? So what is marriage in its essence? I just want to make sure we don't lose the point. Marriage in its essence is a total giving and receiving of the gift of the other in love. So I'm going to stop here, and Steve, I'm going to address your question. So will you ask your question again?
I'll just for you to comment on how to respond to teens who are confused and conflicted with respect to sexual orientation or gender identity.
Okay, so this is one of the really tough issues, isn't it? Same-sex attraction and gender identity issues. I'm gonna divide them for just a moment, and let's look at same-sex attraction, because it's a little easier to look at, especially given what we've just done here. So who can tell me, what is marriage? Is marriage two people who love each other? Did you marry your spouse because you love him or her? Yes. I hope so. So you see, the problem is it's a piece of it. But it's not the whole definition. The problem is when we take, so if you think of a pie, the problem is when we take a slice of the pie, two people who love each other, and we make it the whole pie. I hope marriage is two people who love each other. But do you love your children? Yes. Do you love your nieces and nephews? Yes. Do you love your godchildren? Yes. Do you love your neighbor? Yes. Scott Bagshaw loves all of his youth group kids. So what's the definition of marriage?
Union and fruitfulness.
Okay, so we're on the right line. The essential component of marriage is two people who are capable of entering into the one flesh union. Right? We saw spousal love. The two become one body. That is the essential definition of marriage. Two people who are capable of entering into a one flesh union, of the two becoming one flesh, one body. Can a man and a man enter into the one flesh union? No, they can't. But you see, the problem is with our language. Because our cultures say two men have sex, two women have sex, and a man and a woman have sex. Is that true?
In our culture? Yes, it is true. In our culture?
Is it true that a man have sex, and a woman have sex, and a man and a woman have sex? Are those three realities the same? You see, we use one word, and we make it seem as if what these three groupings do are the same, three couples. It's not. A man and a man do not have sex. This is not easy for people to hear, because sex is one flesh union. A man and a man, or a woman and a woman, what they engage in is sexual activity. It's a very important distinction. So what our culture has done is collapsed sexual activity and sex, one flesh union, to mean the same thing, and they do not. It's a very important distinction we need to be making. Two people engaging in sexual activity, is that a total gift of self? No, it's not. See, so it falls short. of what marriage is as a reality of the total self-giving between two people, including the body, that allows for a one flesh union. It's difficult. Because can a man and a man love each other? Well, yes. Can they love each other profoundly and deeply? Yes. Can they desire companionship? Yeah, we all desire companionship. The difficulty is when we take that and we sexualize it to say this is the same as marriage. And it's not, and it can never be. So this is hard for teens, right? Because what's their reaction? It's not fair. They love, well, yes, they love each other, but you see, this is the problem, is that we have changed reality. We have changed words to make them mean something different. We've changed marriage to mean something different. And so every way that we can, we have to try to represent this plan of God in the body. Why do we have a male and a female body? So that they can enter into one flesh union. Why? Because what's your ultimate destiny? One flesh union with Christ in his body. And through Christ's body, union and communion with the Trinity. Is your ultimate destiny sexual activity with God? It's not, is it? It's this profound embodied union. Here's the other thing that I say, and this again, these topics are difficult because it's hard to speak about sexual things and sexual activity sometimes without sounding vulgar or offensive. But I've really thought hard as to how we can do this. Here's the best way I've figured out to describe a rather touchy situation. When a man enters into a woman in the marital embrace, the place where he enters is designed by God to expand and receive. It's very beautiful. It's designed by God to welcome the man into a woman's being. And there he can rest within her. He can dwell within her. When a man tries to enter another man, the place where he tries to enter is designed to contract and expel. That's the design. And a man can never rest or dwell in another man. Again, it's a profound image. Christ says in the Gospel of John, Father, that they may be one as we are one. You living in me and me living in them. I am the vine, you are the branches. May they dwell in you as you dwell in me. This image of mutual indwelling is really important. And the closest created human image that we have is a man and a woman dwelling in each other through the marital embrace, bodily. It's beautiful. It's profound. That experience of indwelling, of being fully received and fully giving. A man and a man can never experience that. A woman can never experience that. So this is why God's design is always and only male and female. Because these are physical expressions of profound spiritual realities. But remember where we started this? What does our culture want to do? Divide and conquer, separate. So that's why we did so much of that work at the beginning of just trying to reconnect the physical and the spiritual. Because we've got to give them the worldview, the framework, the mindset, that the physical and the spiritual go together. God and man go together. The biological and the theological go together. The sexuality and spirituality go together. So don't start with what I just said, because remember what I said? Steve asked the question at the beginning, and what did I say? Wait. Can you please wait till we get to the end? So I know some of you want to get to Vigil Mass, so I just want to end with 2 comments, if I may. At home, I have this wonderful jar of what looks like Nutella. You know what Nutella is? That yummy chocolate spread. Only it's by a woman who calls herself the sneaky chef. And what she does is she takes and she tries to get vegetables and healthy things into everything. So you take a scoop of this Nutella-looking stuff and eat it, and it is yummy, yummy, yummy. But guess what it's made out of? Yellow peas. You would have no idea, because somehow she's figured out a way to sneak the yellow peas and to make this delicious, creamy substance that is chocolate and yummy, and you're getting your vegetables without realizing it. I want to encourage you to be sneaky theology of the body chefs, to figure out ways, right, to get theology of the body into every place, every way that you can, and people don't even realize it. This is what's wonderful about theology of the body, is you don't have to say, I'm going to talk on theology of the body. Right? You just sneak it in there, just like those peas, and let people just experience it and taste it, and they don't have to know that it's theology of the body. So that's my hope for you, is that you can be sneaky theology of the body chefs. And I brought with me a total box, because I want to give it away to Mike over here, so that with his 6th, 7th, and 8th graders, when he teaches on marriage, he will be able to hold it up and say, okay, that marriage is a total gift of self, right? So I want to encourage all of you to go to the store, buy a total box, have it in your TOB arsenal, because I do really find it's one of the most helpful shortcut ways to answer so many of the questions that are pressing today. So thank you so much for joining me today. You have been just marvelous at journeying through this whole panorama that John Paul has given to us. Please know I am available. I am a resource to all of you for your parishes, for your schools, however you would like to work in the theology of the body message, sneaky or not. I would be more than happy to help you do that. So thank you so much. God bless you. And please remember, you are a gift. Thank you. God bless you.